On behalf of Westbury Christian School, welcome to our presentation on the Texas Education Freedom Accounts, the newly launched school choice program here in the state of Texas. We hope that today's presentation will give you an overview of the program and tell you the things that you need to know before those applications open for families. First of all, I want to tell you a little bit about Westbury Christian School in case you're not familiar with us. Westbury Christian is a pre-K through 12th grade school that has operated for over 50 years here in Southwest Houston, and we are honored to be a school that strives to be Christian in all that we do. And so as we approach this new program and these new opportunities that are being provided by the state for more and more families to have access to a high-quality Christian education, we want to assure our families and tell our community that we plan to remain committed to enrolling mission-appropriate students, mission-aligned students and families, partnering with those who are committed to the Christian values that we uphold, the Christian values and the Christian mission of our school. And so none of that is going to change based on our participation in this program. We're still going to expect that students who enter our school are academically prepared for the grade level that they're interested in, that they are in good standing with their current school, and that they are supportive of those Christian values and mission in our program. So basically our admissions standards, our expectations, our admissions testing, all of that will remain the same as it always has, regardless of if a student is participating in the TEFA program or not. And then we'll continue to partner with families and be honest about our ability to meet the support needs of students with disabilities or special learning differences. While we are equipped to work alongside some of those learning differences, we're not necessarily equipped to support every student. So we're always going to be open and honest with families about that during the admissions process. And then once again, we're committed to our Christian mission and values. A little bit about the Education Freedom Accounts. If you're unfamiliar, they were created this past spring by Senate Bill 2 here in the Texas State Legislature, which allocated $1 billion for these accounts in the initial 2 years. We're already 1 year through that cycle, and so basically there's about $1 billion for this upcoming school year to fund these accounts in this program. Per student, what that looks like is that each student who receives a Education Freedom Account, who's funded for that, the baseline funding is $10,474 for students who are enrolled in an eligible private school. For students with disabilities, as defined by the state of Texas, that amount could be up to $30,000 depending on the needs of their specific learning disability. The management company for these funds is a company called Odyssey, which has experience in other states running their voucher and educational savings account programs. And eligible expenses that this money could be used for would be school tuition, could be tutoring, uniforms, lunches and breakfast. It could be textbooks and other instructional materials, online education programs, therapies for students with special needs, and several other items that are connected to their education and learning. To participate, to be an eligible school in this program, schools must be accredited by TEPSEC or the TEA. Just so that you know, Westbury Christian has been continuously accredited since 1978 by both Cognia and the National Christian Schools Association, which are both recognized by TEPSEC. Schools also have to have continually operated a campus in the state of Texas for at least 2 years preceding participation in the TEFA program. Westbury Christian, we are in our 51st year of operation here in Southwest Houston. And then finally, another requirement is that schools must administer a nationally norm-referenced assessment for students in grades 3 through 12. Westbury Christian uses the NWE MAP growth assessment, and we have for several years, which meets this requirement. So we fully anticipate and plan to participate in this program and are eager for the opportunities it will provide to not just our current families, but prospective families as well. Because they are expecting a high demand for this program, that probably will exceed the $1 billion allocation in this initial stage. The TEA and the legislature did devise a priority kind of standards, priority buckets or priority categories for participation in this program. And so it's important to know that when the terms of a lottery or the terms of being randomly selected are only going to apply to the final category that they get to before the funding runs out. So if there's enough money available for all students who applied in that priority 1 bucket, then they would all be funded before it rolled over into priority 2. If there wasn't enough money for every student that applied who meets the priority 2 requirements, then that's the stage that the lottery would take place in. If for some reason, the demand was not as great as they anticipated, and there's enough for everybody, and then these categories become irrelevant at that point. But anticipating demand that is greater than the supply in this initial year, these categories are how it will be determined which students are funded if there's an overwhelming response to this. Many of those guidelines and those categories are going to be based on the federal poverty guidelines and percentages of that. So they'll look at family adjusted gross income. So the first category is students with a disability as defined by the Texas Education Code, whose family income is at or below 500% of the federal poverty guidelines. We tried to include some of those thresholds here in this chart. If your family was larger than the numbers listed here, you can look up and do the calculations just by searching for the federal poverty guidelines and then multiplying it by the number of people, or looking at for the line the number of people in your household and multiplying it by 2 or by 5 to get the 200 and 500% thresholds. The second category is for children whose family adjusted gross income is at or below 200% of the federal poverty guideline. The third priority category is for families whose adjusted gross income is between 200 and 500% of the federal poverty guideline. And then basically category 4 is open for everybody else. It's kind of that universal concept at that point, depending on funds being available. So anybody would fall into category 4. However, at that stage and only at that final stage are students who are currently in public school prioritized over students who are currently in private school. It's also important to know that that last category is capped by the legislature at no more than 20% of the ESA funding. So in theory, if you got to that bucket, a maximum of only $200 million in this initial allocation can be spent in that category or allocated from that category. So the priority is definitely focused on students with learning needs, maybe with learning disabilities, and then also students who come from lower income backgrounds. Those are definitely the priority category. But once again, categories 1, 2, and 3, it doesn't matter if you're in a public school right now or a private school, all students are viewed the same in that category. When it comes to that priority 1 bucket, the definition of a student with a disability, it's going to be basically a disability. It could be visual, auditory, or several of the disabilities listed here in this first box that disrupt the ability or prevent the student from being adequately or safely educated in public school without the provision of special services. So in public schools, that's going to be documented by things like a 504, an FIE, a IEP. All those documents are going to demonstrate and justify to a district and to the state that these students need additional funding or additional support. So the way that the bill's written is that if those students attend a private school, those additional supports or those resources that the state would have provided for them are going to travel with them to this private school. So to be able to meet that category, to demonstrate kind of the proof of eligibility for that priority 1 categorization, there's going to be some documentation involved with that. Just to get into that bucket, the documentation threshold's a little bit lower. It could be a medical diagnosis, it could be a FIE or a 504 plan from a public school. All of those are going to demonstrate that the disability is there, that the need is there, and so that gets a student into that priority 1 category, assuming that they also meet that income threshold. But to get the extra funding, you have to have an IEP that was created by a public school. Now, it is a little bit different than if you're a current student in public schools where there's a timeline, time relevance where your IEP has to be within the past 3 years, I believe. Here, for this program, the IEP can be from any time in their education history, as long as it was created by that public school. And then for private school families that maybe haven't gone through that process before, even as a private school student right now, you can get an IEP from the public school district in which you reside or in which the school resides, which Westbury Christian is in HISD. But a public school must be the one that completes the IEP. That's the only way to get the additional funding at this point in time. That is a timely process. And the reality is, at this stage here in January of 2026, it is highly unlikely, if you have not started that IEP process, that it would be completed before the application window for TEFAs closes on March 17th. It's certainly important to start that process if you feel like you'd be eligible or your child would be eligible. However, it might be more beneficial right now to provide the other documentation, that medical diagnosis, the FIE, the 504, that demonstrates the diagnosis that would qualify for support, and then apply for the additional funding in subsequent years. As far as the parent requirements, for this application process. First of all, note that the applications for families will open on February 4th. All those applications will run through Odyssey, and we will make sure to push that information out to you when the time comes. But it's parents that are going to be responsible for completing the application and submitting any of the required paperwork to demonstrate eligibility. And this will have to be done for each child. So if you had 4 school-age children, you're going to be completing 4 TEFA applications, 1 for each child. If you have 1 child, then you're only doing 1 application. You're going to have to submit documents for proof of legal residency in the United States, proof of current Texas residency, and either your 2024 or, if you have them completed, your 2025 tax returns that will show your family's adjusted gross income. You also have to affirm that you'll share your child's nationally norm referenced assessment scores with Odyssey. We as a school, we can also help you do that. But you have to provide those test scores so that they can measure the success of the program over the long run. You'll have to approve payments through your Odyssey account if you're funded. And so it's a digital kind of wallet or holding space where invoices will go to it, and then you'll tell the invoices to be paid. And if for some reason you were going to leave the program, you would have to notify Odyssey within 30 days of leaving the TEFA program. And at the end of each year, while you will not have to complete a new application for the subsequent years, you will just have to click a box that says you're going to continue to participate in future years. But once you receive funding, there are no new applications that you'll have to do for that child that receives funding. A few of the things that are important to know on those applications, when you fill that out, you do select a school because schools have to affirm that you're a member of that school. And so if you're a brand new student, a prospective family that's going to be entering private school for the first time, you would select Westbury Christian. And once you're enrolled, then we would affirm that you are there. If you're currently a Westbury Christian family, you would just select Westbury Christian, and we would affirm that you're a current student there. That's also helpful to know that if you have multiple children, siblings will be approved together, but they'll have to apply individually. So again, if you're a family of 3 and you have a child with a disability and your family meets the income requirements, that if that first child is selected because they're in that priority 1 category, both siblings, even if they don't have a learning disability, are going to be included in the TEFA program. So their accounts will be funded as well. So siblings travel together out of the heart and the spirit of helping families not have to make that tough choice of just sending 1 child to private school and not the others. And then families do not have to reapply each year once you've been funded. If you aren't funded, or if you're placed on that wait pool or a wait list during that initial stage, you might have to do an abbreviated or an updated application in subsequent years to get into the program. It's also helpful to know that unused funds in a given year will roll over from year to year. It will not roll over from one sibling to another, and it doesn't travel with the student after they graduate high school. But from year to year, if there's a little bit left over in the account, that will continue to accrue over time. Again, applications for families will open on February 4th, and they will close on March 17th. So that's about a 6-week period for families to apply. And there's no additional benefit if you apply on February 4th versus March 17th. The timing of your application does not matter as long as it falls within that window. Once the window closes, that's when Odyssey and the TEA will do all their calculations regarding funding. If there needs to be a lottery for a specific category of prioritization, they'll do that lottery at that point. But by the first week or so of April, families will begin to receive notification of the funding that they've received. You'll be able to continue to monitor that live through the Odyssey app and all this, but you'll know by early, mid-April whether or not you've been awarded a TEFA in this initial year. If you aren't awarded one, you'll go into a wait list or wait pool, and if money becomes available because maybe somebody doesn't continue with the program, then you might be selected still even after April. The funding deadline, so 25% of the funds will hit these accounts on July 1st. Another 25 will hit on October 1st, and then the remaining balance of the accounts will be hit the accounts by April 1st of 2027. There's a really helpful parent checklist. If you follow this QR code to the link on the Texas Comptroller's page, educationfreedom.texas.gov, this checklist is going to tell you exactly what type of documents you need to supply or what you'll have to provide for participation in this program. So very thorough, about a 2-page document that gives a lot of details for parents about the things that they'll specifically need to know or do to participate. If you have any questions, we'd love to answer those questions for you. You can reach out to our admissions office at 713-551-8100 or email us at admissions@westburychristian.org. We also have a website set up that gives a general overview of the EFA program and what that means for Westbury Christian. We hope that you'll check that out. And again, the state comptroller's office, which is managing this program, has a very detailed website as well at educationfreedom.texas.gov. Thank you so much for joining us for this presentation about the EFA program and how that could benefit you and our families here at Westbury Christian School. Thank you and have a good day.